up a seat at the bar to join us for another episode of McAnally's Pubcast, a podcast exploring the fun and fantastical mind of Jim Butcher's The Dresden Files series. Hosts Tansenn, Maggie, and me bring you another round of literary analysis on this immense, immersive, and colorful environment inhabited by Harry Dresden, the world's only licensed private investigator and professional wizard. Join an active and engaged community of new and die-hard dedicated fans focused on the fabulous themes, theories, characters, context, lore, and more. This is McAnally's Dresden Files Pubcast by Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.
Welcome to the McAnally's Podcast, brought to you by Free Flow Rambling. This is episode 9.12, Blowing Hot and Cold. We're covering the novel Summer Night. My name is Tansenn, and I'm joined by Maggie.
Hello, hello.
And Jess.
Yankee.
Thank you to our Patreon subscribers for your generous support. It's people like you who help us do what we do. If you're not yet a Patreon subscriber, sign up today and get a fuck ton of bonus content, kick-ass merch, behind-the-scenes outtakes, and more. Sign up today at patreon.com/freeflowrambling. Chapter 15. Maeve attempts to bargain for Harry's firstborn and tries to get the process started immediately. Dresden brutishly declines the offer. Slate, the winter knight, makes an appearance, to which Harry immediately asks him if he killed the summer night. Slate denies doing so, which results in a face-off between him and Maeve. Harry concludes that Maeve is not the killer, and him and Billy make their way back to the Beetle. Just before they get there, the two are ambushed.
So, yeah, I did kind of like your intro that she, right off the bat, she's like, well, let's bargain for, like, your firstborn, and let's go right here, right now. Yeah, basically, what did you say, waste no time, or, tries to get the process started immediately. Pretty much does sum that up right there.
Let's get it on.
Let's get it on. So, yeah,
Boom,
so
boom, boom. I want you in my room. Didn't we already have this discussion? By the end of Summer Night, you will know that song.
there you go. That's right. And apparently it's not Tiffany, the one that I thought of. So anyways, yes. So immediately he's like, you want me to cut another deal? He's like, when I burst out in laughter, or she's like, when I burst out laughing at you, do you think you'll be offended? She's like, why? Whatever do you mean? Why would you find the notion amusing? He's like, oh my God, seriously? Yeah, she's all like, oh, it's fine, it's good, it's totally for your benefit. He's like, yeah, I've heard that before, usually right before I get screwed. And she's like, one thing at a time.
I like that little quip there. It was cute.
Right.
Not cute, but rather like quick. It was quick.
It was, yeah. Maeve gets it in there right there. I was just watching Critical Role earlier too, and it's the live. It was like episode 109, I believe. So it was like their live episode at Gen Con, and they're just getting ready to face Vecna and stuff. And so Liam, or Vax, had promised Grog something if he was able to forge the stuff, and he's like, oh yeah, you thought I'd forgot, right? Like, what's this thing this really cool thing you promised me? And then Vax is like, well, I don't want to discuss it in front of everybody else, so let's go. So they go like downstairs to another room to discuss it. And he's like, okay, so I got this love potion. And Grog is like, and it just gets, so of course they're in the live audience too, right? So like just everything is like one after like no matter what Liam is trying to say. He's like, I could say turducken and you people would turn it into a sexual innuendo. I was like, okay, well, in all fairness, a lot of what you're saying was sexual innuendo. It wasn't completely innocent. But yes, Liam, just the way you talk, because he's like...
builds it and builds it and builds it, joke after joke after joke.
Well, it is, because it's just the way he talks, too, right? Because he's like, I forget how he said it or whatever, but he's like, I prank Scanlan's ass, and now he's got a bug for it. And he's like... So you pranked his ass, and now he's got a bug. It was like not like it was just right. Like it was just he really doesn't help himself. But yes, we've got a little bit of that conversation going on. That Harry's just like whatever he tries to do, and Maeve's like, well, you know, and he's like, no. No
matter what, the Fae will bring it around on you.
Right. Exactly.
They love a good innuendo.
Right? When it's well played and worked out, it's brilliant.
So I brought up, I think it was last episode, it could have been more than that, but like the way that Harry just seems to like occasionally just want to keep everyone the hell away from everything because he's like, it's too dangerous for you, I can't get you involved, whereas with Billy, I find that he was very much like, you're a werewolf, I need a werewolf, whereas it's like, this is still a child who wasn't a werewolf until like 2 years ago or whatever like that, right? And Harry's just like, you're a fully fledged supernatural, you're gonna come be my backup, right? But
a little bit.
There's still like heavy point where Billy's just like, la 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 la, I don't know what the hell is going on, right? So in this whole thing, it's like, he's like, Billy, you're with me, we're going to fight the fairies, come with me. And then they're down
just
here.
Question them. Just question them.
That is a fight, though. It's just a fight to be verbal with the fairies.
Well, yeah.
But he gets down there, and he's like, Billy, don't do this, Billy, don't do that, don't touch this, don't drink that. And then they're down there, and I love how it's just Billy being like, this all seems like a trap already, maybe we won't go in there. And Harry's just like, but then we don't get any answers, let's go.
Yeah,
right? And I just
totally
love how,
a trap, but we're going anyways.
Billy's always just like, I don't know anything, but you're actively breaking the 3 things you told me right now in front of me.
Wait a second.
Right? You told me only like 2 things about fairies, and you're doing both of them right now. Right? So yeah, I like this whole chapter. It was just like, poor Billy just being like, I don't like hanging with Mr. Dresden. I don't like hanging with Mr. Dresden. I don't...
But it's so cool. So much stuff happens at the same time. I'm like, I totally want to hang with Mr. Dresden.
I mean, no spoilers, but the fact that Billy is still alive is amazing.
Right? I mean, I think you'd bring a fair point that, yeah, he was kind of like, all right, fine, let's just go. And I guess some of that would hinge on the fact that, you know, like I say, where Murphy has helped him out, and Murphy, you know, has all the cop instincts and training, which are very useful, Billy can turn into a very large, dangerous werewolf. That is something difficult to contend with. And
The muscle.
Well, like you say, and I mean, most of us, again, who aren't used to it, would probably have, if we've got half a brain or something like that and haven't been completely desensitized, probably would have a pretty good fear response to somebody pointing a gun at us. At the same time, it's not that same primal, visceral fear that Harry has talked about before of a large creature. You know what I mean? Like, most of us have not actually faced a gun or fired a gun, or you know what I mean? I'm like, I know in theory only what that is like and what that would mean to me. Yeah, exactly. But I'm like, I've been around lots of dogs. It's so much easier to envision a large, snarling, fanged beast coming at me. And I'm just playing with my own dog that is like a golden retriever cross, so she's a large dog. Just playing around, and I accidentally smacked her in the face and like bruised my hand on her teeth. You know, I'm like, if she actually tried to bite me, I'm like, this is literally just me accidentally running my hand into her teeth. And I'm like, oh my God, that hurt. Or her like stepping on me with her clawed feet, you know what I mean? And I'm like, dude, you're like 90 pounds. Would you get off my foot, please? Like,
so my godfather trains
guide
service dogs, right? And so they always get them for the first little puppy part. And that's when you decide whether or not a dog is trainable enough for the program. So they've had plenty that have been absolute stellar stars. They've gone on to become all these things, but they've also got a handful that have failed out of the program for one reason or another.
Yeah,
and
perfectly
those
fine dogs, great pets, just not a guide dog.
Just not a guide dog. For whatever reason, there's, criteria that, if they get too distracted by other dogs, or they've got too much of a mind of their own, they just cannot be trainable, right? And those dogs, they'll just chew on you all day long. It's like they don't understand it all. It's like, puppy teeth hurt.
And and I mean, like you say, you got them as puppies, but like you say, they grow up within that first year, and they mainly have dealt with black labs, which again, not small dogs. Mm-mm. They are largest dogs. They've got they've got a good, what's that bite ratio thing, pounds per inch in there, yeah, exactly. And that's when they're just doing their friendly, let's play.
But I will say to that, though, is that you've got to understand that most of these fae, a vampire or a fairy or what did we just have in the apartment, a ghoul? Ogre. I don't know that they necessarily will feel the same primal fear to a wolf that we do, because where we're standing and thinking like, oh, I can talk to a gunman, there's like a way to talk to them. I can't communicate with a wolf. These other things would be like, I can growl, you can growl. Same thing.
Okay. Yeah, maybe not that point so much, but I think where he has, to me, what's more of an advantage with the supernatural is he does very quick and stealthy and he's a little bit more matched to that higher level of skills because he is also a supernatural wolf, whereas exactly if you come up against the more mundane, something very large suddenly snarling at you and coming out of the shadows at you would have that frozen deer in the headlights thing, whereas perhaps with the supernatural, it's like you say simply that he is another supernatural beast. So again, I think they've made it pretty fair to assume that he's stronger and faster and whatever than...
Perhaps 2 points to that, where it's like, one, you didn't just bring in a random mortal into my beautiful fake court, which is like, how dare you? It's like, okay, at least it's another supernatural bullshit.
Yeah, somebody that knows.
But also, at some point in the series, I don't know if it's already happened or if it's coming, but Harry does say, he's like, sometimes, no matter what you want, the bronze just beat out the brains. Not to say that Billy is stupid, but
yes,
he is much less trained as Murphy.
And it will happen in almost every book that Dresden gets his brains beat out by the brawn. Indeed. But yes, but at the same time, like you say, Billy is so new, like you say, right? It's like he is just kind of like baby werewolf, and he's like, okay, let's just fine.
Again, it's like, okay, sure, you're like, yeah, you're a werewolf, but at the same time, it's just like his experience. Right. And again, I get that the alphas have been running around doing their own thing, and they've been doing, but it's been presented thus far that they're dealing with much more low-level shit around. They're like Harry's side stories rather than Harry's novels.
Well, yeah, they're the campus security kind of a thing. They make sure that women walk home safely and
neighborhood watch versus
exactly. Right. People aren't getting mugged on campus, and because it gets established at some point too that the camp is in a little bit of a sketchy area and things like that, and just those types of places often, right? But yeah, I guess I'd have to assume that that's mostly it, was that the fact that they have been doing some patrolling and they haven't just been, you know what I mean, and the fact that they've leveled up from like these pimply little chubby baby fat college students to like lean, rippling, muscle bound, and I'm like,
well, it is. It's almost one of those things where it's like they gain 10 XP on their own every day, and then every time they hang out with Dresden, it's like, here's 500 XP. Right. What just happened? And then they go about with their 10 XP a day bullshit, and then they hang out with Dresden. It's like, here's 500 XP.
It's like Dresden's like the bipolar of the, it's like if you're ups, if you're downs, you have your, it's hanging out with him is all of a sudden like spin on a dime kind of a thing.
I gotta say, it's gotta be the biggest adrenaline rush ever for Harry's friend. Every time you get a call from him, it's like, missing message from Harry. Oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God.
Right. Does he need to borrow milk, or is the world ending? Yeah. It could be either.
Which is especially funny that the alphas have been trying to be hanging out with him and inviting him to stuff, right? It's like at any point that we show up to take him to game night, we might just end up dead.
Yeah, right.
You realize the pizza guy is trying to bomb Harry, right? Let's not invite him to game night and order takeout.
Yeah, right. But then again, Billy's the one that stepped up and did all this stuff. Billy's like, so your rent is due, and I checked on your office, and I picked up some messages, and I got you an appointment, and I don't want to make Billy seem like he's completely useless, and he's like a child, and he's not part of it. But at the same time, I just can't help but feel about him that way anyway. I'm just saying, I think that maybe is where Dresden is, it was like, okay, fine, you did all this stuff, I guess I owe you a little something, or fine, you've already shoved your way into it, maybe it's one of those.
So this is a punishment. You want to be involved with Dresden, do you?
This is like, you want to smoke? You can smoke the whole pack, Billy. Let's go.
So, anyways, yes, Harry, Billy descend upon. LED is somewhere around here.
Yeah,
she ran away.
She's hiding in his hair. When the Malk showed up, she was like, "Bisies," and just kind of hid. So,
fair enough.
He guided them, so she's still. So so she's like, oh yeah, let me give you your firstborn. He's like, newsflash, Goldilocks, I don't have any. And she's like, naturally not, but it could be arranged, because he's like, fine, I'll listen to you is finally what he gets down to, right? Because he's like making fun of her for even suggesting that he would make another deal or whatever.
So a naked she emerges from the pool in the room, kind of like a Disney princess. So several pixies pick up her dress and dress her in silks.
Yes, because she comes out naked, so
but for the life of me, I cannot imagine her as pretty.
Because she's green.
Yeah, I just can't do it.
The green teeth.
Green teeth, and it's green hair, and it's green skin, and it's green. I'm even trying to think of Shigo from Kim Possible, but I'm like, she's wore green, but she wasn't green,
I don't know. Is this Butcher's way of hitting on the old Star Trek and the Omega slave girls? Was it Omega? Something like that. The something slave girls. I'm pretty sure they were. Yeah, the green teeth, because normally in our society, it means either you've got something on your teeth or they're all rotting out of your head. Green teeth is kind of hard to imagine as, but he does try and say it's a nice green or something.
Well, he keeps referring to green, leaf green or whatever like that, right?
Yeah, sound like a nice bright grass green, not like a dark, dull spinach green.
Well, they do say she is casting a glamour, so I guess it really doesn't matter that she's green.
It's not really her, but I still am just like, but if you can cast a glamour, why did you choose that?
Well, I mean, I guess she is that. I think she is that. But the glamour is, you want me anyways. You know, maybe if you wouldn't normally find the Hulk attractive, you're going to think I'm the hottest thing you've ever laid
Well, first of all, I would. But no.
but I'm trying to think now. I was just rewatching, like, Doctor Strange and, like, Ragnarok and stuff yesterday, but I don't think the Hulk has green teeth. I think they left his teeth as sort of...
He's normal looking, except for, like, green skin and giant.
That everything else is green, but yes.
Well, his hair's not green. His clothes aren't green.
Okay, she's not wearing anything. Her clothes probably aren't green
They
either,
dressed her in silk.
His skin is, yes, but her hair is green. But anyways, regardless, yes. Point being is she's supposed to be beautiful and sexy no matter what. So I guess this glamour just gets Dresden and Billy and whatever over the fact that she's all green, and normally that would be a turnoff. But yes, it's like all the little, like, Disney Cinderella Snow White birds have all come to, like, you know, drop this silky gown, dressing robe, sheath, whatever it is, over her, which of course does nothing to hide her nakedness and simply emphasizes it. And then starts adorning, like, jewelry and hair combs and, you know, the whole. But yeah, and then she, like, slinks up and, like, kneels down at Maeve's feet or whatever, you know, and Billy doing the whole, is it getting a little warm in here? And he's like, oh, it's just, you know, he's like, it's not real, it's just a little glamour. And Billy's like, yeah, not real, okay. And so, yeah, this is when Billy reaches to get a glass of water. Don't drink it! Don't you know? No food, no water, no drink. He's like, ugh, fine. And then Dresden immediately reaches for the water. He's like, Harry, there's a little more back and forth or whatever. And, but okay, so, yeah, there you go. He does kind of. Jen smiled and her teeth gleamed between her lips. They were as green as seaweed, spinach, and fresh steamed broccoli. Okay, yeah, most of those are kind of a duller dark. That's like you've got something stuck in your teeth green, not the nice...
That's almost supposed to be a joke then. It's like, you're still attracted to me.
And I'm wondering if, maybe that is part of, you know, where he's emphasizing the glamour is that. No, she really wouldn't be attractive under normal circumstances.
She's kind of got a pretty plain name, Jen.
Jen. And I'm thinking...
Jen.
I feel like...
Sorry to all the Jens out there.
Well, you think a Fae name would be a little bit more exotic.
Exotic.
No Red Cap or Maeve.
Yeah, and I wish now I had remembered to look this up beforehand, and we might have to do that.
Can you just do it right now?
Because I feel like there was a thing somewhere that she is in reference to, like, another sort of...
That moment when Harry was like, Dear Penthouse, I never thought this would happen to me.
Right.
That makes me die laughing every single time.
Okay, as per Wikipedia here, Jenny Greenteeth, aka Wicked Jenny or Ginny Greenteeth, is a figure in English folklore. A river hag similar to Peg Powler or a Grindylow, she would pull children or the elderly into the water and drown them. The name is also used to describe pondweed or duckweed, which can form a continuous mat over the surface of a small body of water, making it misleading and potentially treacherous, especially to unwary children. With this meaning, the name is common around Liverpool and southwest Lancashire. So there you go. She was often described as green-skinned with long hair and sharp teeth. So yes, so that's why she was, I think, why she's got sort of the plain, because she's plucked a little bit from actual folklore, so.
Right, so Maeve suggests, again, for Dresden to take her off her coupling with Jen, exchange for information, but then offers herself, and then if that's not enough, well then just take both of them.
Yeah.
Like, what? Oh.
Right? Exactly. And it's still, because he's basically come in, I think basically the first thing when he meets him was like, hey Maeve, did you kill her? And this is all like her bargaining for, well, you need this information from me, you need my answer. Because you need the truth of, you know, whether I did or did not kill him and all this kind of stuff, right? So she's, like, willing to up the ante a bit more, right? Because she's like, he can't leave here until he gets this. He knows he needs it. So, you know, we'll sweeten the pot a little bit, like, whatever it's going to take. And, like, even just, I thought this was a great place for a joke that I don't think was taken in here either. Because when she first says, you know, when she first says what she wants or whatever, right? And he's like, okay, so fine, I'll listen to you. And she's like, I want your issue. And he's like, I would have figured that would be a great place for her to be like, you want my issues? Like, absolutely. You can have all of my issues. Take them, please.
Seriously, work around that like a fairy deal, right?
Right? Like, this was your opportunity.
Now the Chancellor wants to kill you.
You know, like, exactly.
Vampire Court wants you dead.
Right? You did. Oh, but no.
Yes, quite the language that she used there.
Yes. This archaic old...
To be fair, she kind of does in the end.
Want his issues?
Get his issues.
Okay. Well, I suppose she takes on some of them at some point, but, yeah. So yes, yeah, sorry, dear penthouse. And then, yeah, so he goes almost immediately after Billy here and reaches for the water jug. And Billy's like, and I do like how Billy stutters here and manages to pull himself. He's like, Harry, didn't you just say something bad about, you know, taking food or drink from these people? Yeah, at the very last second, he can't call them a fairy.
Other than Harry, okay?
Well, yes, but most
People who aren't Harry know how to treat other people with respect, okay?
or
Have a little more manners.
Grace.
well, when you're about to be killed, yeah. I'm sure Billy is plenty lippy to the, you know, would-be date abuser guys on campus or whatever, but yeah, when he's like way over his head with like the least queen, but queen of fairy. He's like, yeah, I'm not going to insult them to their face.
Maeve does not call herself the least queen.
No, but she is. She's the lady. She can't exactly claim she's the mother or anything. She can get slapped down if she tries.
That's Lily language. Aurora language.
Yeah, but still, point being is.
It's a great little gag of him dumping that water down his pants, which instantly
The
clears
fact
his head.
that he undid his zipper too,
I know.
is so weird. Like I would have been like, just like, all right, over your lap,
Down,
but he
or
just
you
like
could just pull out the waist down
undoes
a
your
bit.
pants. Everyone's watching you right
I know,
now.
you're
You
like,
undo
this-
your pants, you pull down the zipper, and then you go.
And I think this is like just how good Maeve and Jenny think they are, right? And this is the other thing too, is like they start saying, because Jenny immediately starts, you know, rubbing her cheek against Maeve's thigh, and she's like, they never really change, do they? Maeve's like, no, the males all fall for the same thing. I'm like, I know you're kind of glamoring him, but at the same time, I'm like, wouldn't you just be like, excuse me? So how many other guys have you screwed for information before I got, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, you're just sitting there going, oh, you poor dumb schmuck, you know, being run by your hormones. I'm like, I know that's what you're going for, but again, don't you think you should wait until, like, after before you, like, say it to his face and rub it in and, you know what I mean?
Most mortal men have already been caught by then. You can say whatever you want in front of them.
I guess maybe that's all they're counting on, but
There
yeah.
was one thing before this, too, when Maeve is introducing Jenny and Harry, and she's like, have you heard of the infamous Mr. Dresden, or whatever like that? And Jenny is like, only by reputation. So it's just like, you know, he keeps saying, he's like, I'm not famous, more infamous, but it's just like, more and more, like, big leagues know you, though. Like, Maeve came looking for you by name, okay? Her whole court seems to know about you, right?
Yeah.
Everywhere else you go, it's always just like, Harry, 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 Harry. So I like how Harry's just like, I'm just a little dude. Like, yeah, the White Council refuses to acknowledge you. The rest of the world is like, Mr. Harry Dresden.
Yeah, fair enough, right? And she's like, yeah, you're taller than I... Which I was like, so you've heard about him, but you don't know that he's a freaking giant?
Like, that's not the first thing people bring up when they talk about him, right? It's like, oh, you know Harry Dresden, who... The guy 400 feet in the air.
Yeah, I was going to say...
Sets
that's
everything
probably
on
the first
fire.
Thing. I'm like, you can't doubt how damn, like, wizard... Pff, what kind of bullshit is that? But you're like, oh yeah, the really tall dude that walks around telling everybody he's a wizard, that, like, is always wearing his big black leather duster, like, no matter the season, pretty much, you know, like...
The only other way would be like, yeah, I heard you were tall, but no one said you were, like, fucking, like, freaking nature. What the hell?
Yeah, right. I like tall men. I'm like, yeah, okay.
Dresden declines and tells her he has a problem with handing over a child to her ever. If you had a... and continues to insult her. If you had a brain in your head, you would have known that.
Right. Yeah. And now she starts to get a little, you dare? He's like, shut up. Yes, I dare. Big time.
Hello, I'm here as protection. I'm your guest. You're not allowed to kill me, blah, blah, blah. Which, to be fair, like, the whole point of the Accords is to have, like, loopholes and shit like that. It's like, we're all, like, you know, we'll all play fair with each other to a point, but if you're stupid enough to get caught up in someone else's game, then that's on you, right? Mm-hmm. Which is what happened to the vampire party, obviously. Mm-hmm. And is now, again, like, I don't think that you could really, like, hold any of it against Maeve if she was just like, bitch, I asked if you wanted to have sex. How is that a problem? Bro.
course I'm going to ask. Like,
Yeah.
come on.
Hello.
Yeah, it is. And again, it is that fine line because Harry does bring it up a lot. But like you say, there are a lot of ways to find loopholes for it. So, because he always says this is the closest thing you have to like promises and treaties and given word within all the backstabbing, conspiring, crisscrossing, double crossing, and blah blah blah. And yet, yeah, almost every time somebody manages to seem to like wiggle it around him per usual,
Well, it's like, we'll see it in like the next 3 books in a row. Like.
Although I guess maybe it's as simple as this. The fact that he's like, yo, I'm busting you on it, I mean, I guess, like you say, if she'd gotten away from it, what would he have said or done? He either wouldn't remember or wouldn't care or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh yeah, I agreed to it or something. But maybe it's just the fact that, yeah, they tried to, and he's like, yeah, I know you're putting a glamour on me, and that's not allowed, so you're big time breaking the rules, and you're getting caught, and I can prove it, and I can tell everybody you're blah, blah, blah. So yeah, maybe that's all it is. It's not so much, because I mean, I'm pretty sure, I feel like he says that somewhere in the initial introduction of it, too, that there are, times and places where people have tried, but it's when you don't get away with it that your name is mud and the whole supernatural community is going to, right? So he's like, and that's the thing, it's always taking that risk of, do you think you can get away with it or not, right? And I guess a lot of the time, they're not going to risk it because, like, without having that, being as good as your word, that reputation, yeah.
Yeah, because it does eat at your own power when you hurt your own word.
That as well, right? It's not just...
It's not just being caught by everyone else.
Yeah, it's not just a reputation. It's, you're right, it can actually have tangible, consequences on you.
Maeve openly admits that Dresden is not so easy to capture, and someone agrees with her. You hear this male voice telling her she should have been more polite to somebody who has declared war on the Red Court.
Which is a fair point.
Super fair point.
Because he does say, he's like, if you're going to keep pushing, I'm going to push back hard. And I mean, again, we know this. We're familiar with Dresden not liking authority figures and, whether it's smart or really stupid to mouth off to them or stand up against them or whatever. But yeah, I think, this is Lloyd coming in here and he's like, anybody that's going to pick a war with like the entire Red Court, maybe you should. It's like, oh yeah, you know what? That's a fair point, man.
This isn't just Harry threatening shit anymore. We've got real proof that the man does act.
Right? He's not bluffing. He's something to back up his talk, right? We are introduced to, what's his nuts here?
Lloyd Slate. Hello.
Lloyd Slate. The
Winter Knight, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, Dresden immediately asks him, did you kill the Summer Knight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it out of the way.
Yeah. And I like how this little touch of fairy, too. She's like, this is my knight, Lloyd, of the family Slate. But yeah, he's like, hey, how are you? He's like, impatient, did you kill him? He's like, wow. He's like, you don't waste time, do you? It's like, I filled my insincere courtesy quota for the day.
Did you kill him? I like that it's almost like a wizard. He's been around the face so long too. He's like, if you don't ask me 3 times, I don't have to say shit.
Yeah, right.
You're still a human, buddy, and you could also still lie, so...
And, well, this is the thing, right, is that's the one advantage he's got there, that, yeah, even though he works for the fairies and is bound in part by some of the fairy law being in command of the mantle, it's...
Part of the point of being a knight is that you are human and are not so restricted by the Fae mantle.
Yeah, exactly.
But, to be fair, Lloyd does have a pretty good defense. He's like, I haven't been at the game nearly as long as Ronald Rule, and, I couldn't have killed him if I wanted to. Dude is way stronger than me, way more savvy, way more in the know, and with the friends, and with the peeps, and blah-bitty-blue-bitty-blue.
Yeah, and Harry's like, whatever, dude was, ancient. He's like, well, I could have bench-pressed him, but it doesn't mean I could take him on in a duel.
Which, as we've seen already, totally fair. Well, I mean, he even makes a point. He's like, half your white council is, dead already.
Yeah.
They're old as hell. They've been around, 400 years, and they're still fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his answer totally sets Maeve off. She just kicks him and then throws a knife at him. Just Nope, not having anything with it.
Yep. We're not playing with Harry. We're not making things easy on him, and you just did, and you can go fuck yourself.
No, that isn't because he brings her something. She's like, is it done? And she looks at what he's brought, and that's when she gets pissed. It's not that he's conversing with Harry. She doesn't really... He extended blah, blah, blah. He reached the throne, blah, 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 and extended the box to Maeve. Is it done? Maeve asked, an almost childlike eagerness in her voice. What took you so long? It's like it wasn't as easy. Hi, how are you? I'm impatient. Fair. Did you kill him? Ha ha. You don't waste time. Maeve let out a sudden hiss of anger that sounded eerily loud. She lifted her foot and kicked Slate in the shoulder. Something popped when he did. Blah, blah, blah. She's like, you stupid animal. She snarled, useless. This is useless to me. And she hurls the knife. So she gets this knife out of the box that he handed her. Something is wrong with that. That's when she kicks him down the next flight into the table in the sheath. She's sitting there and then chucks the knife at him to boot, which... He just gets the handle that, like, bounces off. He doesn't get stabbed with it, but probably still
hurt. My bad, son, yeah.
Yeah.
I wasn't paying attention to Maeve anymore.
Yeah, which is fair. Neither was Harry, really. Until she flipped out again.
I guess that's one way to take it. I don't know. I think it could be taken either way, really. It doesn't...
Maybe.
Really say that she... Because he does, in the middle of it, have that conversation with...
Well, yeah, you have to decide then, which is you're angriest about, that Lloyd is giving Harry information, or she's not happy with whatever he brought her. And if it's whatever he brought her, what's wrong with it then?
Yeah, and that was always how because she's sort of ignoring them or whatever as well until she examines this thing, and she's like useless, this, like that she specifically seems to be talking about the knife and pissed off about that.
The only thing I could think of, though, that she would have wanted would be the knife that Leah received from Vampire Party. That's the only knife we've met so far.
That is the only knife we've met. So, yes. Yeah, so we don't know. We don't know what this is or what's wrong with it or why it's useless. It just says that, it looks like a military-issue combat knife with some kind of black gelatinous substance like burned barbecue sauce. And then, she hurls it in. And then, so he gets pissed. So Lloyd immediately does not like being kicked in the chest by Maeve, and having something pop out is probably, added insult to injury or injury to insult. Flings her down. I'm like, the other sheep kind of all jump up and right. So he's totally getting humiliated and beat up in front of everybody here. And he gets pissed real fast and tries to retaliate on her.
Yeah, he's a bit of a loose cannon.
Which is,
0 to 100.
Yeah, pretty much. So is Maeve, I guess.
Well, yeah.
But I'm like, you kind of have to wonder. I'm like, so he's your knight. He kind of has to, you're thinking in normal, other normal sort of employee-employer relationships and things. I'm like, it is pretty ballsy for him to get pissed off and try to go after the Winter Lady kind of a thing, you know what I mean? I'm like, I get why you're pissed off, but it always kind of surprised me that he was ready to throw down with her right then. You'd think he would have been pissed, but shut up and take it because you have to, you know what I mean? But no, he doesn't. He's like, fuck you, let's go right now.
Yeah, right?
And she's like, mm-mm.
It's weird though because the way that it works is that the knight is its own mantle.
Yes.
Right? And it kind of comes from just all of the queens at once, right? It's no more, you're not necessarily the lady's knight first or Mab's knight first or
yeah,
Tiana.
It's a little bit of all that power.
It's all of it at once, just a little bit for you, right?
Shucked off to this guy, yeah.
But the way that you go through the books, it seems like the knights act towards the lady the most first or whatever like that, whereas Lloyd seems to have the most interaction with Maeve, unless Mab or a mother has a job for him or something like that. And the Summer Court seems like he interacts with Aurora, or Rule interacted with Aurora the most until, Tiana or the mother had a job for him, It's just like...
Titania.
Her name is Tiana, okay? Titania is not a real name and I don't use it.
Obviously.
Well, they just might be, the ladies might be more accessible because they describe them as having more humanity, the lower the rank they are. Whereas, the higher rank you get, the more out there they are in fairy realm. And
approachable and... Yeah.
Well, that, and I was going to say maybe needing the most sort of extra protection or, you know what I mean? Again, the mothers have moved way beyond, we haven't met them yet or whatever, but, you'll get at some point where it's basically they can kill you with a stray thought kind of a thing, So you're again, and the queens, obviously, if Titania and Mab are currently running
Tiana.
all of... If Tiana and Bam Bam are currently running all
I'll
of
kill you for calling her Bam Bam. You're gonna die.
Titania's not. Remember, just because there's a nicer court doesn't mean they're all sunshine and flowers.
Pebble and Bam Bam, that's their names now.
I just flipped it because it was like the backwards of Mab.
Oh.
So that was like the first thing that
I don't know, you went straight to Flintstones, and I'm like, all
I
right.
know, but it was.
I've seen the live movie. That Bam Bam was insane.
Thankfully, I have not. So
Way crazier than the cartoons.
probably.
That kid's psycho.
But yes, closest to the mortal world, most accessible, maybe most in need of. I mean, I don't know because it's not.
I wouldn't say that they need protection, but maybe they've got the most, like, go do my shit for me because they've got the most, like, need for other people to be running around for them. Maybe the most entitlement, or maybe the queen's just there like, yeah, leave me alone. I don't need you right now.
Me.
I don't know. Point is that seems like the knights really serve, or are at least seen more around the ladies than any other faction.
And
of
yeah,
the
maybe
court.
it's just as much as the ladies do a lot more of the busy work, go for work, then, right? So they're constantly running around, and the ones that are running the day-to-day operations, right? Whereas, Mab is like the CEO up there, like she just deals with bigger, broader things, So yeah, maybe it's like the lady and her right-hand man are like out there taking care of shit, and I don't know. But anyways, yeah, they have a very contentious relationship.
super contentious, don't like each other at all, don't respect each other at all.
Yeah, like so when Slate begins to retaliate, Maeve throws a spell at him. This like snowflake brand sort of brings him into submission through pain.
Yeah. and
Everything is antifreeze here.
right?
Like, even the water, like the way that Harry described it, it was like, it sounded like if he drank that, it would have been like antifreeze, like
The water in the
formed,
pool, or oh no, just the actual.
the one he poured in his lap.
Well, yeah, but he said that was just because it was so cold that it was starting to crystallize a little bit.
Well, antifreeze will do that if you drink it.
Well, antifreeze is supposed to stop things from crystal. That's
Yeah, but when you drink it in your body, it forms crystals. That's how it kills you.
a different kind of. I suppose, yes.
I watch a lot of interrogations, okay? If you want to kill your spouse, antifreeze is the way to go. That's like 90% of what spouses do to kill their spouse. Serve them antifreeze.
I did not need to know that, and we probably do not need to.
Because it
tell
tastes
more
sweet.
people that.
It tastes
Yeah,
sweet, so
I'm-
people don't, like, suspect it
I
in,
know a
like,
lot of
a
cats-
pop
I was
or
going to say
something.
to keep it
Perish
away
from it
from
because of that.
animals.
Yeah, well, people do.
Yeah. Well, okay. Listen.
And a little bit on the dark side for this
We
podcast.
do
today.
not condone spousal homicide or any homicide.
In our other podcast, I said, I was like, murdering is bad, and you can quote me on that.
Yes, you guys have to hurry up and release it though, or nobody will ever hear you say that. In that
No, I
one.
swear on it, Your Honor. I recorded that weeks before the murder.
So yeah, she spikes his little breast, which he says is like a stop motion fast forward thing of like gangrene or whatever. Like it goes all like blue and red and purple and black. Like it just looks like nasty and very unpleasant. And it's still not enough to put him down completely. She still has to get Jenny Greenteeth in there to help.
Because she even says, calm him, right? And so you expect that he's going to go be, like, seduced or whatever. Like, nope, full on needle to the vein.
Yeah, I mean, she does a little seduction because she goes and, like...
Just to get in close,
Just
though.
to get
It's not-
right. I mean, that's just, like, a little hint of it just to kind of distract him for a second so that they can, just... Because he notices he's got a whole bunch of track marks and everything there already, and they just stick a needle in and down the plunger, and he's like, okay, all right, okay.
Fucking harsh.
Right.
So, but yeah,
Winter's scary.
right? And just straight for the, like, not a lot of subtlety, which I think has come up or will come up with Winter.
Dresden and Billy begin to leave, but Maeve stops them as their bargain isn't complete in her eyes. Like, no,
She's
we
like,
can't go.
wait, we didn't figure out how many of us you're going to screw yet to get this done. Like, we were only the two of us. Come on.
Well, she said, like, the bargain's not complete. We have to finish the bargain. And Harry's like, I don't need to complete the bargain. Like, I've got my answer. But how does that leave it if a bargain was started? Does it have to be completed then? Or can Harry just fully be like, you know what? You don't have to uphold your end of the bargain. I'm good.
He didn't.
If
I
there's
never
nothing
agreed to
upon,
it.
then
That was
there's
it.
not
Like,
an
But Maeve
actual
is insistent
bargain.
that there is one.
He said he'd hear her out, and that's as far as they got. He didn't get to any counterpoints, or maybe like he basically, he was just like basically shutting her down from the start. Because did he even have an answer? Like, I can't remember.
told her no.
Well, he told her no, but when she said that they could bring the other one in, had he actually sort of said anything yet, or was he still just like staring at her? Or
No, he outright says no. If you had a brain, you would have known that. And
yeah.
that's-
Well, yeah. After that to the child, but just when she first sort of upped the ante was all, is that, yeah, I don't think he said anything yet. And she's like, perhaps it's not enough for you, you know? She's like, we can bring Jenny in with us or whatever. So yeah, she upped it, but I don't think he had given any response yet to that. And then it's after that, when he, because he flips out on her just before, because he's yelling at her and saying like, are you fucking out of your mind, when Lloyd walks in and says, see, I told ya, right? So yeah, I don't think that counts as anything. I don't think, because he hasn't, given any inch to anything other than he let her say what she wanted, but that doesn't constitute a bargain.
In either case, she would be the one who's not having to uphold her end of it, which would be, I guess, safer for him.
But like Billy's all like, what was that? And he's like, probably like passes as a polite discussion around here. Like, let's go.
It's better when she goes and she's like, I won't forget this insolence. And he's like, I probably will. It's nothing special.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Super fair.
Yeah, but he's like, he's like, that's okay. I don't need it anymore. And she's like, what? What do you mean? She's like, you don't? And Billy's like, we don't?
It took way too much effort for her to even hurt Lloyd, her own knight. So clearly she couldn't have killed Rule.
Yeah,
as
someone
She tipped her hand is what she did.
Exactly.
With the whole responding the way she did.
Yeah.
Completely, yeah.
If she'd killed Rule, it'd have been sloppy as hell. Not a suicide, for sure.
Well, yeah, this is what he thinks, right, is that he wouldn't have been able to cover it up that easily. There would have been, because when he...
She doesn't have the ability for premeditation. She's so emotionally responsive.
Yeah, like no fine-tuning of a... Because he checks like when he first gets to the apartment, right, he checks around with his wizard senses to see if there's any residual magic or anything left over, and he really can't find anything, right? And exactly what he's seeing here just says she's loud and obvious and blatant and not subtle, and like I say, going up against her own knight, who should be in her control because he's on her team and like she controls the power he's got, and that almost ran her out of gas. And against another, Billy's like, you are like unreal. And he's like, what? He's like, most people would still be like quaking in their boots from what we just experienced, and like up close and personal, like the tension that was going around when we left there. He's like, and you're giving her like the Russian judge thing, like. And he's like, okay, so she's strong, but. and then yeah, he's like, well, could you do as well? And it's like, well, I probably would have used fire, but Billy's like, oh shit, like you could go toe to toe with that, and Justin's like, yeah, ish. And then Billy's like, okay.
Other than the fact that she has all of winter behind her, it was just me and just Maeve. I've got a pretty good chance, which is fair.
But, so anyways, yeah, so then he's asked about Slate then. She's like, not sure about him. He's mortal, so nothing to say he couldn't lie. But he's like, didn't really get didn't really sit with him immediately that he was like, oh yeah, it was totally all him or something like that. Like, could have been involved, but I don't know that it would have been just him either. Might be more to it. But yeah, so he kind of got his answers, but also left with more questions, which is typical.
Well, he said too, like, as he's leaving, and he's like, yeah, I probably will forget about this too. It's like, yeah, you're forgetting that, like, he's got to go insult the queens, the mothers, and the ladies, and the knights. Like,
yeah, right.
You're the lowest tier of what I've got to insult today, right? It's like...
Yeah, and he's already hit his insincere courtesy quotas.
Like, he's got to run through this. So it's like when you're thinking about, like, whether or not you've got the power to do it, right? It's like, on top of that, it's just like, do you even know what I'm looking at in terms of power right now?
It's not like she should be totally surprised. I mean, his reputation does precede him, clearly. Like, people have had to have spoken about how much a dick he can be.
It's funny, though, because it's always one of those things where it's just like, you think you're special. It's like, okay, obviously he's not afraid of the vampires, but he'll totally be afraid of me, and then they're not afraid of him, and they're like, motherfucker.
Right, yeah.
What even? And then you get to, like, the other vampire questions, like, well, obviously you were rude to the Reds, but we're the Whites, and you have to teach us with respect, and he's not. And they're like, whoa, okay.
So much pride. So much pride.
So, yeah, I was going to say, right, everybody thinks they're so much better and so much...
Which is partially the reason why Harry goes around insulting all of them.
It's like, no, I am equal opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't care how big and bad and scary you are. But yeah, basically he's like, they don't have time for this whole thing. Like, everybody's trying to rush. He's like, and that's not like fairies have literally all the time in the world.
Things are in motion.
Yeah, he's like, something's going on, and the courts are going to go to battle over this if something,
Which is a scary thought, if you've got immortal beings who are used to waiting millennia for things to happen, right? It is a little bit like, why does it need to happen right now? And obviously we know that we are days before the summer solstice.
Yeah. But we kind of have. But yeah, he sort of says, he's like, they, could have gotten some more information, but things were getting a little tense in there. And, Billy's like, yeah, I think it was probably a smart move to bail then.
Everyone's on edge right now, and Harry suspects more than even usual for these crazies.
Yeah. So he was like, again, I sort of basically got my basic answer that, very unlikely. Like, don't think Maeve did it herself. And doesn't really seem like, again, she would have had the wherewithal to put together a really cohesive, savvy plan. So that just rules her out there. So yeah, he's like, okay, that's out. That's like 1.5 of like the 8 people out. Because he's like, hey, Maeve is out.
Lloyd
probably. So that just leaves Elaine and, like you say, everybody else. The other like 4 or 5 people we've mentioned. So he's like, okay, I guess it's on to the next one. So, and then they're kind of baffled, too, by the fact that it wasn't just, like the doors closed behind them and it's, like, gone. And Billy's like, ooh. And then Harry's like, this is just a rock wall now. Like, this isn't like a glamour.
Like that. It's just fully gone.
It's just, like, right? And he's like, what the hell? And so he's like, I don't know, could have been like a portal. I know. I love how Billy's like, so like teleport? It's like, kind of.
Potentially just walked through a way and went to the Never Never without noticing.
Yeah, or like a cut through to another part, which again is like, then why are they like in, so you have to go to Chicago.
Just make it difficult.
To get the doorway that zaps you somewhere else. Like, okay, because he's like, because Tutu was all like, oh, the Winter Queen came to Chicago like ages ago. Well, apparently she's not in Chicago actually, so did she really? Just conveniently popped up a doorway so Harry didn't have to go.
They could have been just in
far.
like a different underground part of Chicago.
Could have been.
Make it easier or harder for people to find you if you tell everyone that you're underneath like train A and you're really underneath train C, but they can only get to you if you walk down train B.
Maybe.
I don't know how the Chicago transit
Dresden asks Elodie to lead them back to the car. She agrees, and they start to go back. And just as they're about to hit the Beetle, Billy pulls Dresden out of the way and proceeds to attack something.
He's like, Harry, watch out! And then Harry's all like, Billy, what the hell? Why would you shove me out of the way, motherfucker? That's so rude. Why? It's like, he said, get out of the way. And then Harry's like, why would you push me like that? That's so mean, man.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you're right. He had no reason for that he didn't instantly announce. Ding dong.
I don't know, maybe it was more about, like, what the hell is going on? Like, what are you attacking? Not so much, why did you push me out of the way or whatever? But maybe.
I don't know.
Because he does saying he was trying to make sure to stay clear of the action. He's like, Billy, what the hell? So maybe, I don't know. But yeah, he doesn't really get to find out because before he can find out what Billy is wailing on, something grabs him instead.
By the neck and lifts him off the ground by his neck.
Ouch. Very ouch. Yeah. And again, for somebody who's like 6'9", probably not easy to do.
Right. A voice, a feminine contralto growled, let go of the amulet and call him off, wizard. Call him off before I break your neck. This concludes our episode 9.12, Blowing Hot and Cold. Thank you for listening. You can find us online at freeflowrambling.com and McAnally's.ca. There we have links to our other podcasts, social media, and other fun tidbits. Please subscribe if you like what you're hearing, and please consider supporting us through Patreon to keep the magic alive and to see more content. We are Free Flow Rambling. Conjure by it at your own risk.